Hi, I am Newt. Hey, today I read a Facebook post and it made me think about the topic today. Tidbits on sin. Yeah. It was in response to the recent reactions around Lauren Daigle's interview. Got me thinking about how I first started considering this topic. It was a day in Afghanistan. I was still in the Air Force as an air advisor, walking back from the dining facility, and my dedicated interpreter, he was complaining about the Spanish dining facility because they had a way of putting pork in everything. If it was fish, they'd wrap it in bacon. If it was chicken, it would be cordon bleu. If it was any vegetable, I had ham hocks chipped in it. So he couldn't eat very much at all because he was not allowed to eat pork. He was Muslim. He was a strict, no, he was a good Muslim. In fact, that's what the topic was. He told me how when we were walking back to my office, he went on to explain that he was a good Muslim, not perfect. He explained, you notice that I'll drink the beer or the wine that they offer at the dining facility. It was a European facility. They had that. Americans couldn't participate over there, but they could and he could. And so he did. He said, Muslims are not supposed to drink alcohol, but it's a small thing. I'm still a good Muslim. I said, okay. He said, if a good-looking woman crosses my path, I'll probably commit adultery. But I'm a good Muslim. It can't be helped. I said, oh, okay. And what he was getting at is that he was a good Muslim because the most important restriction he strictly adhered to. He didn't eat pork. And in my mind, as an American Christian, that whole hierarchy of sins didn't make any sense. I thought it was ridiculous. But almost immediately I was pricked in my thinking, realizing that we in the Christian culture in America do the same thing. We have our own hierarchy of sins. We don't necessarily assess them strictly by the Bible either. Mostly we do it by our culture and by our tendencies. Let me explain. There may be some biblical delineation about sin in terms of consequences or its effect on society. And some are clearly marked as abominations. But I realize that's not the way most of us look at it. Most of us see that areas that we struggle with the most, our weakness tendencies, are not that big of a deal. But the sin of other people, the sins that other people struggle with, those are serious and must be dealt with harshly. Or the ones that we're most afraid of. Is any of this making sense? How about a great big for instance? If you read the Bible in context, Old Testament and New, you'll find that immorality as a whole is a serious issue. But that not honoring and obeying authority in your life is a much greater issue. It's a much more serious, it's a much more egregious, requiring harsher discipline. God didn't deal lightly with that. Think about it as you read through the Bible again and see if that's not the case. The influence of our society and culture in America has seeped into our thinking. And Americans are super proud of rebellion. That's how we started, right? Independence, belligerence. We don't give a lot of respect and dignity and authority to authority as we ought. Or as Mary pointed out in the post that I read that got me thinking along these lines, often in the list of abominations in the Bible, Old Testament and New, you'll see sexual immorality, drunkenness, gluttony, all listed together. But in America's church, depending on which stream you're in, drunkenness and sexual immorality are horrible sins. But gluttony is almost celebrated. Let me give you a story about that. I was in a church in Great Falls. We lived there for 5 years, Great Falls, Montana. And we were sitting around watching fireworks one July 4th. And I was sitting next to the youth pastor, and I leaned over to him and I said, hey, Nate, I've got an incredible idea for your next youth function. You're going to love it. Next time you have a youth function, advertise it broadly. Let everyone know about it. Tell them that you're going to host a wet t-shirt contest. Think of how many people are going to attend. Think of how you grasp everybody's attention and be able to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with them. What do you think? And of course, he thought I was God bonkers, and he gave me that look. And then I said, well, honestly, Nate, that's no different than the all-you-can-eat hot dog contest celebrating the spirit of gluttony that you're used to draw them in, isn't it? It's gluttony or it's sexual immorality No different in the Bible, but in our American culture, church, we do see it very differently, don't we? And like Mary points out, there's just as much to say, especially in the New Testament, about gossip and slander and backbiting, with probably more ill effects on the community of believers than one person's sexual sins. But we focus on highlighting what other people are struggling with rather than catching our own little foxes. Well, that's my 2 cents worth. Lord, free us from self-deception. Amen.